Good morning. Well, it's early o'clock in paradise, and you can see somebody over here. I just come outside. What are you doing? What are you doing? Always attacking me. Okay, I come out here early this morning. You know, I'm a bit of a spiritual nut. For those who know me closely will know that. And I don't mean religion. I mean, there's something here in our world that we interact with every day, and it's trying to figure out what it is, how to interact with it, and I guess it's like saying I want to go from A to B, and you go to a train station to get on a train, and the train takes you directly along a track and drops you where you want to go. So the spiritual journey, you could say, is a bit like that. It's like, okay, I see there's a train, it's going to take me somewhere, and I want to go to that destination, so you get on the train and go. And in the spiritual journey, it's the same, but when you first start out, you don't even know where the train station is. So how do you know to get to the train station when you don't even know it's there to get on the train? So how do you explain the spiritual journey? Well, you know, I've talked to people, and you know, you may say like an amazing quote or something like that, and somebody will say, hey, you should write a book. But let me just say, here's my little plant this morning. I like this plant. It's early o'clock, because I find that when I lay in bed in the mornings, it's very easy to feel or touch that side. So I figured this morning I'm going to come out and try to explain this once again. You know, I've tried I don't know how many videos I've tried to make, and they don't touch it. And I've actually tried to, believe it or not, write a book about it. A couple of times I've attempted to start and stopped, because I don't want to waste my time, and I definitely don't want to waste your time. So what is the spiritual journey? If I may, you know, I'll just briefly tell you a little bit about me. Well, about 35 years old, that was a few years ago, about 35 years old, I started having these feelings that there was something I was looking for, but I wasn't really sure. You know, like finding a train and you don't even know it exists. I was living in England, I was a teacher, and I just started having these feelings that I needed to go to Glastonbury. And for those who, if you don't know what Glastonbury is, just adjusting my camera here. If you don't know what Glastonbury is, you can go online and you can go online and, trying to get my camera, I'm not happy here. There you go. I hope that's okay. You can go online and have a look and see what Glastonbury is. It's a place in southwest England. It's used to be a Catholic church until the king decided he wanted to get rid of the Catholic Church and become Protestant, King of England that is. And so if you look there, the cathedral is in, you know, it's more of a shell, a ruin now. There's no roof on the building. The grounds are still there, but the buildings are just about gone. There's some structures there. But I started having a feeling that I had to go. So what was it that was making me feel that? You know, I didn't even really know what Glastonbury was, but I just had this feeling that I had to go there and to see it for myself. Really unusual feeling, but I went. There's some touristy, like hippie places. There's a place called a little alleyway, or like a small street, called the Glastonbury Experience, which is like stones and tea houses and things like that. And then there's the main abbey, which is, you know, the old Catholic church. So you go there and you walk around and you go, I looked, okay. But I kept having this feeling about Glastonbury, so I started doing some research online, and I found that if you look at ley lines, right, there are energy lines that run under the ground across the earth. And if you do it, particularly, it's people talk about it in England. If you could just look online and do a search called ley lines, Great Britain or something like that, and you'll see a map, and it looks like straight lines, and where they cross, the energy lines under the ground, is a high spiritual place. So the Abbey was put, I mean, the people who built this, 1,000 years ago or more, how did they know about the ley lines? But maybe they didn't know about the ley lines. Maybe they just felt a high spiritual presence there. So they built the Abbey right there. So was it the Abbey and all the praying? Because if you have a place where somebody prays a lot, and a lot, and a lot, and a lot, and then they stop, but people can go there years, 100 years after these people prayed for 1,000 years in one place for peace, love, and kindness. There's an energy left there, a residue, if you like. Okay, so that's how I started, and that's a little bit about spiritual stuff. So, maybe you've seen the picture of, I have a picture, I'll put it in so you can see. It's a picture of like a ruin where you're standing. There's no like smoke or haze or fog, but inside the other side you can see like a haze or a fog or something like that. So what does that represent? It represents we're in this world, we have a physical earth suit, and we live in this world, but there is another world, and that's, I call it the other side. You can call it the spiritual world. And one thing I found out about all this stuff is, over the years of studying it, when I first started, Mr. Ego, like we all have some, ego when we start off, and the idea is to get rid of it. I said, I'm going to figure out how all this stuff works, and then I can explain it. Well, I can tell you, after 5 years of pretty intense training and thinking, studying and thinking about what is the spiritual journey, I come to a grand total of 0. And the more you press, the more you push to understand the brain, or find out the source of what is the spiritual journey, the less you'll find. It's like the harder you push, the harder it pushes back, and you won't find it. If you do, you're good, because it's just, I think it's not meant to be found. So what is meant to be found and what isn't? Well, some would say that's God, or you can go farther. Who is God? We refer to, a lot of people refer to God as a He. Well, what are you doing? She's down there making noises. We refer to God as a He. So, you can say, I'm a He. Why? Because I have a male genitalia, So I'm a He. And then if there's a woman here, she has breasts, you would say, okay, she's a female. But that's in the physical form. God doesn't have a physical form. He only has a spiritual form, or an energy form, whatever we will call it. They're just words. So what is that? How does a male, how can you have a spiritual deity only male? If God created, I say God, religious people or anti-religious people don't like that, so call it what you want. Call it the energy. I sometimes refer to it as the architect. The architect designed all this stuff, So, but how can, don't want to get ahead of myself, but how can a spiritual entity not be balanced? If it's a creator, if it's a creation, a creator is creating, therefore you need a feminine energy. Masculine, the patriarchal, right? And then you have the matriarchal, which is the feminine. So a creator has to have a feminine energy. So how can you refer to God as a he if is balanced? Okay, so maybe that's what we're supposed to do, have a balance. We yin yang, equal and opposing forces, be balanced. So you can be the, Shiva is the destroyer in Hindu religion, but that's just one aspect of it's. So let me keep on track. Okay, so what did Buddha do, or Jesus? They find enlightenment. They wanted to find, to wake up, to be, to wake up and be, to touch that energy, to be able to touch it, or not touch it with the physical form, but touch it with your mental form. So if we can touch that, if we can just we can participate with what, why we're here. We come here, we have a body because of our parents. They came together and, how can I put this politely, made love and produced a child. But who is that child? Is the child of the child is more than a physical form. So there's a spirit living inside that form. So that is the personality, wild, caring, compassionate, whoever. That's the spirit of the person. So who is that part? I met in my journey, I've traveled to different countries in search of all this stuff, and I've come to a place of understanding that that's good for me. So I went to Java. I met a guy called Mr. Eddie. He's passed now, and he looked at me and smiled and said that I had been here 37 times, and I didn't say yes or no. I just listened to him. And so in Buddhists we say that you keep coming back, and why do we keep coming back? We come back to perfect, or we come back to love, learn to love at a higher level. I think nowadays I prefer to think that we're here to learn to love at a higher level, or to try to connect to the Creator. You can say Christians who watch this will say, oh, but there's only Jesus, and say, well, that's good. That's what, if you believe that, that's okay. But in my journey where I am now, I think Jesus was a person who was also on a spiritual journey, found the truth, and started to share it with people. And what is that truth? To connect with the Creator. And all religions and beliefs and faiths are the same. Somebody at the beginning was trying to do the same thing, and they explained how to connect to the divine architect, whatever you want to call it. So they created this thought process, and they said, if you want to find the energy, the chi, or whatever you want to call it, then you have, follow this and you'll get it. So now we have religions, but people are in love with the vehicle and not in love with the person at the end of the destination. So back to the train, do I love the train, which is Christianity, I believe Hindu, or all the rest of the religions, or are we in love with the person, or whatever's there at the end of the journey? When we get off the train and get off, do we say, oh, I don't want to find the person or find the energy behind all this. I just want to be in love with the train still and hug the train. Well, that's okay if that's what you want, but for me, I want to touch the heart of the Creator of the universe. And how, for the non-spiritual, non-religious, non-whatever you want to call those people, they'll say that I'm crazy. I'll say, well, that's okay. It's my journey, But let me just say this. If you take a seed, let's say a tomato seed, you cut it open, you take the seed out, you let it dry. You You have to create an environment for it to grow. Like a child, you create an environment for it to grow. So that needs the right soil with the right minerals, the right temperature, the right amount of water, the right amount of sunshine. So you give it all those things, and what happens? The plant grows. It grows into a beautiful plant. It produces flowers. The bees come, they pollinate the flower, and then the fruit comes, and the fruit grows, and then we eat it, and you know, vegetables keep us alive. So isn't it interesting how it's such a, you just think, oh, it's simple, but it's actually a very complicated process. Think about this. What about like honey? Bees make honey. They say they found honey in a tomb in Egypt that's like 3,000 years old and never went off, never developed any molds or things like that. So how does that work? So, you know, it's very complicated to try to explain at early o'clock on a Tuesday morning, standing in my little bit of woods here. But I'm going to keep explaining stuff. I think the easiest thing to do is have these little ramblings, and then if you connect them together in your own way, you'll understand my point. And because I think you just can't, you know, you just can't create a little video and say, oh, this is the answer. If it was that easy, it'd have been done 100,000 times already. So my point is, okay, get on the train, start the journey. And how do you do that? You know, you can't force this to happen. It's not like I'm going to go to the library or to the shop, I'm buying the book, I'm going to sit down with a cup of coffee or tea, and I'm going to do this. It doesn't work that way. As soon as you try to control it, it doesn't like to be controlled. So I think adopt the position of love and inquisitiveness. Be curious, think all the time. What about this? What about that? What is this? What is that? And just keep thinking. Trying to understand is the attitude or emotion to have, and then from there you can start the journey. Get on the train and be inquisitive. Like, sit on the train and say, hey, where are we going? What is the end of the destination? But there's so much going on around us that we can't see, that we can't touch with our physical hand. Let me tell you one little story of many, many, many stories. I was in Africa. You can hear the people over the other side in their pickup trucks with the loudspeaker disturbing the peace again in the mornings. It don't happen every morning, but some. I went to Africa in, I can't remember, 2005, I think. I was in Mozambique for 3 months. I was with Heidi and Roland Baker. I forget what it's all called, but the idea was it's supposed to be, you know, they're high spiritual people in Christianity, and I thought, I was prepared. I'm prepared to do anything to learn the truth, and so I went to Mozambique, and I stayed there 3 months, and I thought that I was going to learn from them what is the spiritual journey, and I found out that wasn't true. I was actually very frustrated being there, not with the Mozambique people or the local environment or the people on the course that was with me, but the structure of the course, because it was a human being's egotistic way of trying to say we're going to teach you the spiritual journey, and the only way to learn the spiritual journey is to fall in love, and with who? Yourself, people around you, and the architect. So, but I did learn something while I was there, and many things actually. Where we stayed was right in the middle of a community, and the communities practiced the darkness. They had a lot of witch doctors. So there was an energy there that you could feel when you got there. It was just like, it was very dark and very not nice. Very disturbing. You couldn't sleep right. It caused arguments amongst people. But nobody, I mean, if they if it was planned, then why didn't the Iris Ministries do this before we arrived, if they're that great? But this is the way the architect and the spiritual side works. Christianity calls Holy Spirit. So what happened is, one day a group of us of about, I want to say there was a group of about 20 sitting still, and there was a group of about another 20 or so walking around, dancing and things. And there were a lot of people had bongo drums and other types of little instruments, and nobody actually said, let's play this song. They just started creating this rhythm, and it seemed to go on for quite some time. And while we were sitting there, the rhythm it kind of went into a drone almost, you know, just like you would say the darkness does. And nobody said anything. You just kept playing. It was fun. It was there was something happening there. Nothing planned, nothing organized by anybody, we were all just being a part of what was happening. And suddenly I had a vision, and I shared the vision with the guy that sat next to me. And the vision was, I seen what looked like a tidal wave, because where we were sitting, we're right on the edge of the Indian Ocean. Behind us was the beach. And there's my neighbor going to collect her grandson to babysit for the day. You know, so I'm having my back's to the beach. We're on the other side of the road from the beach, but the back's to the beach. And I had a vision, so I couldn't see the beach, but I seen this tidal wave coming. Okay, and the tidal wave washed over and crashed on top of us. Everything was soaked, and at that time the rain came. In the real world, the rain came, and just like crazy amounts of rain. I'm going to stop talking for a minute. You don't see this very often, so I'm going to share this with you. Somebody going by in a motorboat. He's coming, you can hear him. Just be patient. Here he comes. Be patient, please. You don't see that every day. This is my my life in my garden. Okay, guys. So now I'm sitting in my little shade garden. The sun's starting to come up. I wanted to just to talk about a little story about when I was in Africa with the Iris Ministries. I went there in search of the truth, trying to understand more. I wanted to know about Holy Spirit, you know, Iris Ministries, which was Roland and Holly Baker. They moved in an area of healings and different things that I wanted to learn more. So I needed to know. I was prepared to go do anything to find this, and so I went to Africa. I spent 3 months there with them. I wanted to say that, you know, they had many guest speakers, world-class speakers from different places who had many different spiritual experiences. So I went there with the idea to learn something, and I met these people, listened to them talk, shook their hand. They tell a story, but the story is a result of them interacting with Chi, Prana, Kai, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, in your belief system. So I forget the guy's name, but he was from Malaysia, I think he was from. Actually had an experience of walking on water. There was a river, and it had been raining a lot, so the river, and normally you could walk across this river, but the day he was going to walk to this village to tell them about Jesus, he went there, and he couldn't get across the river because of all the rain. The water was too high. And this is his story, that he got to the river and he just said, I'm going to try to walk across, and he walked across, but he actually walked on top of the water. And many people will say, I don't believe that, but that's okay. You know, it was a story I heard that he told. I'm just repeating the story. Listen to me and then think about it later. He walked across the water, not under on the ground, but on top. But he didn't realize it while he was doing it. He realized it after he had done it. Excuse me. So he got to the other side and he looked back and he says, hey, I didn't walk on the floor, I walked on the water. So he didn't do it because he chose to do it. He did it because it happened by accident. And my point is, this is how a lot of spiritual things happen. You don't think that I'm going to just, you know, it's like juggling. You don't learn to juggle. Well, you learn to juggle, and then you say, okay, I'm going to show somebody this trick I learned. And you say, watch this trick, and you da-da-da-da, and they go, hey, that's cool. But that's doing something that you trained yourself over and over. So can you train yourself to do this over and over? To walk on water, to do spiritual things? I can say in my experience, I've seen many different supernatural things happen. But they happen because not something that you've done intentionally, but they happen because it's an energy that's around you. Or I've seen healings, I've seen many different types of things happening, but I think it's all to do with, you know, if you work in a perfume factory, then there's a pretty good chance that you're going to smell of that perfume. You know, if you work by a fire all day, then you're going to smell of whatever it is you're burning. So I think when you hang out with the creator of the universe and you hang out in that environment, then you smell like that. So those supernatural things happen around you. But not, I want to say this, not from my ego, but it's not me. It just happens because, you know, it's a bit like Tai Chi. People practice Tai Chi, they have Chi energy around them. And you go do a search online, you'll see people doing things with Chi energy. And where do they get that from? It's because of a practice. You know, you smell the smoke, you smell a smoke, you smell a perfume, you have the Chi because you hang out with it on a regular basis. So the point of, you know, the difficult to keep on track to explain something that you can't touch. But to conclude the Iris story is the witch doctors, their energy was broken after we played the music and after it rained. And then after that, it was a beautiful place to be. It was a paradise. Okay, so there's obviously going to be more about this stuff. I'll talk later, but that's the story of Iris over and the Chi energy for now. Okay. Okay, so hands-free. You're sitting on top of my truck. So let me try to conclude this, land it if I can. So the conclusion to the story is, it wasn't Iris Ministries that did it. It wasn't, we didn't have a focused agenda to do that. It just happened. So how did things just happen? Because I believe, if I may be so bold, is if your heart's in the right place, I believe the architect has an agenda, and he'll use a willing vessel. He'll use people to, she, I don't like to say it, but whatever is non-gender. I'll have to find a word for non-gender. That's why I say architect, because you don't know. But anyway, I believe likes to use us to create or to bring into existence whatever it is that the architect is designing. The architect designed us, designed life, and I believe there's a designer because it's too complicated. There's no way that this can happen by accident. The more, if you allow your brain to be free thinking and to think about the tomato I just told you about, the processes that are involved, the genetics and so on, that's involved in that thing to grow, is too complicated to happen by chance. So it had, I believe, had to be designed. So my ramblings here in the garden in paradise in Thailand early in the morning, I believe are going to be a start of ramblings for those who are interested in this sort of stuff. So it's not going to be short. It's not going to have flashy lights like discotheque to keep you occupied and focused. It's just helping somebody who even watches it this far and hears my voice at this second, is obviously serious about growing and wants to understand more. So if I would have found this when I was growing, I'd have been very excited, and Mr. Anal would have want more. So, but I think that in the slice of population, that pie is very, very slim. So I want to conclude with this. I know it's already long, but I want to conclude with this. What is Chi? What is karma? What is Holy Spirit? I said this. I worked at a place called Cree in America for 3 years. I worked in the characterization lab, and one of my jobs was operating an electron microscope. Joel 6100 I used a lot, 6400, and there was a 6600 Joel. Anyway, there was a guy there called Dr. Khan. He was the 7th employee out of thousands. He was the first scientist of high quality that I say high quality like old and smart about electronics, and they developed microchips, you know, semiconductor material mainly to make LEDs. So my job was to take pictures of this, you know, up to like average around 30,000 times magnification. So anyway, one day Dr. Khan was there, and I said, Dr. Khan, from China, I said, what is Chi? And he laughed without even taking his eye off what he was doing. He just said that the Chinese have been studying Chi for thousands of years and have no idea what it is. So I believe that's the same as the Holy Spirit, the same as, you know, Chi is in China, prana, India, Kai in Japan, and you know, Western white culture or Western culture says Holy Spirit. So I think there are many names. If you do, you know, I thought of researching that, but I'm not wasting my time. It's not something I want to do. So there's an energy, there's a, you can say Holy Spirit, you can say whatever, but to get there, is my point, is have the willingness to find the train and get on the train and go to find the truth, and the truth will set you free. You'll find love, you'll find peace, you'll find happiness, and you'll find answers. I can't say the answer because there's always something. For me, I'm always like, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. And thank you for listening if you got this far. Have a super blessed day. And may love, peace, and kindness fill your home and your heart. Thank you. See you later. Bye.